Hello, everyone. If all is working right, you should hear me. I had to kind of reset some things from running Freddy's streams, but I got it all set up. I see we do have Mr. Freddy in chat. How's it going, Freddy? We got Leslie in here. We got Cappuccino in here. We got a new channel member as well, Jess B. Thank you for becoming a cheese curd. We had Mr. McKenna in here, Freddy's dad. We got Sydney in here. Yeah, how's it going, guys? Good to be back. Good to be rocking and rolling here on the Charlie Bourdo YouTube channel. Let me hop on over to my face cam and pull up chat on my end over here so that I can see you guys. But hello everyone. How's it going? Hopefully you all are doing well today. Hopefully you're enjoying this nice, what is today? Friday? I think it's Friday. I've lost track of time. I've been in the weather dungeon for too long. Freddy and Eli don't keep a clock down here for me. But yeah, hopefully you all are doing well today. Sorry I kind of canceled the chase today last minute. I mean, the forecast just isn't looking super good. So I'm like, I don't want to go all the way up to Green Bay and then I'm chasing rain showers that are moving off over Lake Michigan. So decided, gonna stay home today. Got some projects to work on, so might as well just hop on here for like an hour or so, say hi to all you guys, kind of show you what I've been cooking up for the past few months. This has been a project that's been on the burner for quite a while, but it's finally coming along. I'm finally kind of getting time to sit down and work on it. We got Eli's in here. Eli, I haven't escaped the dungeon yet. You guys locked the door too well. We got Stimpy's in here. How's it going, Stimpy? We got Central Virginia ESA last night. Freddy, have we been saying my last name wrong? I don't know. How have you been pronouncing it? It's pronounced Bourdo, like board as in wood and O at the end. Imagine like Cheerios with like the O at the end. Imagine that, but with a piece of wood. Bourdo. That's how my last name is pronounced. It's like some French last name, apparently. I didn't know that. There's a country in France called Bourdo, or like a region in France called Bourdo. They're known for their wine. So anytime people ask me about my last name, I'm like, you ever heard of Bourdo wine? And then I make some type of joke about that because Wisconsin and alcohol is a funny combination. But Stimpy just became a cheese curd. Appreciate it, Stimpy. Can we get some W's for Stimpy in chat? And some W's for Jess B earlier, too. We got 2 new channel members in here today. But without further hold on. I need to like make fun of Freddy and Eli a little bit more. Guys, how dare you mispronounce my last name? Grr. No, I don't care. It's not a big deal. But moving right along here, what have I been working on? What have I been cooking? What has been in my brain for the past like 3 months? And the thing that has been in my brain for the past like 3 months is the Peshtigo Wildfire. This has been a project that has been on my mind for like ever, and I'm finally like sitting down to finish it because I started writing this video back in like February. So the script has been on the burner for a while. I taught myself how to use Blender because there's no images of the wildfire. So I'm like, okay, if I need imagery of the wildfire, I have to make it myself. So I did all of that in Blender, which I'm going to show you guys here in a little bit. And then finally it was just finding all like old images scattered through all sorts of archival websites from like the 1800s. So Wisconsin Historical Society came in clutch and let me use a bunch of their images for this project, which is super, super awesome of them. So big W's to the Wisconsin Historical Society for letting me use a bunch of photos. But yeah, this is what has been on the burner forever. And it's finally all coming along. We're finally cooking. See, we got Mark in here, we got Beth in here. But yeah, how's it going, everyone? Glad to see so many friends in here today. But this has been the project that's been like on my mind for the past couple months. I'm like, okay, I gotta get this video done. I gotta get it done because I'm so excited to like how everything's coming together. I feel like it's coming along really nicely. So yeah, this is one of the 3D models that I used for this video. I'm going to turn the desktop audio down a little bit too, just because it is a little loud. But this is one of the 3D models I did. Actually, as a matter of fact, we're going to do something fun. I can take you guys into Blender to show you guys like the actual model of the town that I put together, if my project will save. So we can do that. Why don't we go into Blender and I can just show you guys the model that I put together, because to do this I pretty much had to model the entire town, which is quite a daunting task if you're a newbie at Blender. But essentially what I did was like, okay, if you've ever seen the donut tutorials on how to work in Blender, that was like my bread and butter for the like month that I was learning Blender. So if we open up the Blender file here, I can take you guys into my 3D render of the town of Peshtigo, if it will load. There are some bits and pieces that are missing because I moved all my files from my laptop that I was using at school onto my desktop here. So there's going to be some little bits and pieces that are missing, and I don't really care enough to go in and fix it because I'm not like using this file anymore. But like all the stuff I need for this file is done. So this is what I've been doing. This is what I've been working on. This is our 3D model of the town of Peshtigo. I mean, there were roads and stuff, as you saw in the actual like render. There were roads, so those just didn't come over for some reason. And also there's Photoshop because I was doing some graphics in there and Google Earth. But here was kind of one of the scenes I was putting together. If I go to, I want to see if I can turn on the lighting. I don't know why the ground turned pink also. When I brought everything over, the ground turned pink. But yeah, here's the 3D model of Peshtigo that I made. It took quite a little bit, but it got there. Took some time. Took some cooking. Took a few days for me to figure out how all this stuff works. But after I figured out kind of the basics of Blender, I got things rolling a little bit. Freddy is inside the Love's bathroom right now. I'm glad to hear that, Freddy. I know there's important work going on in there. Wasn't the Peshtigo Fire the same year as Mrs. O'Leary's cow started the Chicago Fire? Yes, that was the same day, the same evening. I talk about that in the video. That's partially why the Peshtigo Fire is so forgotten by everyone, is because the Chicago Fire happened the exact same time. So everyone focused on the Chicago Fire because Chicago is one of the largest cities in the United States. So that's part of the story of Peshtigo. But essentially how the story goes for Peshtigo is, well, you're going to hear it in the video, but the SparkNotes version is poor land management, poor fire prevention practices. Several large wildfires were already burning on the outskirts of town. They all coalesced, raged through northeast Wisconsin, and it ended up becoming the deadliest wildfire in recorded history, with, I believe, the estimated death toll was 1,200 to 2,500 people were killed by the Peshtigo wildfire. And then at the same time as the Peshtigo wildfire, Chicago was also experiencing their own wildfire. I know the common story is Mrs. O'Leary's cow knocked over the lamp. We don't know for sure if that's true. We don't know Mrs. O'Leary. We don't know if that's totally true. There's been some speculation on that. But at the same time as the Peshtigo wildfire, the Chicago fire was happening. So everyone focused on the Chicago fire because that was kind of the big city where everyone was watching it. Peshtigo, Wisconsin, there's not a whole lot of people around there, and it doesn't help that the fire in Peshtigo was so intense, everything was demolished. It took like 2 to 3 days to get all the information about what happened in Peshtigo down to the state governor. And then it took a couple more days for the Wisconsin governor to get supplies to Peshtigo to help start with the rebuilding. So there was quite a bit of delay between hearing about the Chicago fire, everyone kind of heard about it instantly because there were so many people there, and hearing about what happened in Peshtigo because there was nothing left behind. It took them a while to kind of get things going. But that's kind of the SparkNotes version of the Peshtigo wildfire, and here's my wonderful 3D model of the town of Peshtigo. I can pull up the image that I based this off of. Luckily enough, there was a map of Peshtigo created. I believe this was created like just before the fire. So we have like a good, accurate map of the town prior to the fire here, if I can find the actual image. There it is. Yeah, here is the map that I based the model off of. So kind of condensed everything a little bit. Like this building here, this is This was a wooden wares factory. It was the largest wooden wares factory, or one of the largest wooden wares. No, was it the largest? It was one of the largest wooden wares factories in the United States. And then over here was a sawmill. This was one of the largest sawmills in the United States. So there's a lot of very interesting history within the town itself. And there's a great website, in Peshtigo, there's a museum called the Peshtigo Fire Museum. And they have a lot of great information on their website telling the backstory of Peshtigo before the fire, during the fire, and the rebuilding process afterwards. That's where I got a lot of the information for this video. Guys, can we get some W. Eli's in chat for his amazing camera work over these past few days of chasing? Eli has gotten no days off. Eli doesn't get vacations. Eli can't escape the weather dungeon like I can because Freddy will come chase him down. But yeah, that's the backstory of what I've been cooking. I also have another 3D model that I was using for this project just for some like extra stuff. I wanted to get like a shot of like the fire like emerging through the woods like all creepily, but obviously no images of the fire itself, so I created another kind of 3D model set here of kind of a, let me see if I can turn on the lighting without absolutely nuking my computer. And Blender is crashing, so that's a good sign. But essentially this is just like a plume of smoke with like an orange hue behind it just to give it kind of that creepy glowy effect. And then also just a bunch of trees in front of it to kind of hide that behind all this there is literally nothing. So I thought about doing this all in like the Peshtigo town model, but that would have been too much work for my poor computer to handle. As you can see, there it is, it all turned on. So streaming and trying to model all this lighting at the same time is not the greatest combination. But here's like another shot. This is kind of like the fire like emerging through the woods. You can see you have like this big scary plume of smoke up there, and then some of the creepy orange lighting to kind of to set the mood. But that's what I've been working on. That's been my project, and it's finally all starting to come together here. I can also give you guys a sneak preview of just some of the 3D modeling after like post renderage here. Like here was the town itself, like as it was on fire. Here are some of the 3D models I did for that. And then here's the town prior to the fire, just some like general like going through town. Like here's what it looked like before. And then there's also a map of the town afterwards, like 10 years later, that we're going to be using just to kind of show like, oh, they rebuilt. Kind of the story is Peshtigo rose from the ashes. They were completely wiped out, and then the town made a comeback. So that's what I've been working on. That's what I've been cooking. That's been my life for the past, or this has been on the background for the past couple months, and it's finally getting all put together here. And you guys are getting a first look. All you wonderful folks who are all you wonderful folks who are tuning into the stream here today. So, yeah, I was just kind of figured I'd pop on here for a little while and we can all just kind of work through this thing together. Like here are some images of like, this was before the fire. This was like one of the lumber yards, because the whole one of the big things behind Peshtigo was they were like a big lumbering town. Like the logging and lumber industry was huge because it's in northern Wisconsin. It's just woods. So I believe there was like a business owner from Chicago who saw Peshtigo and was like, hold on, there's some potential to be had here. So he had folks build the logging mill and the factory for like wooden wares, and that got the town rolling and gave the town plenty of work for folks who wanted to move there just on the outskirts of Green Bay. Guess we'll be getting back into storm chase mode early next week since storms are expected in your area. We will be back in storm chase mode next week. I know Freddy and Eli have their eyes on some high plains and sandy coming up, so we're gonna be locked in there for some good high plains chasing up in the Nebraska, Wyoming, South Dakota area. I believe Monday is gonna be like kind of central plains like Kansas and all that, but actually I can pull up the Storm Prediction Center right now and we can just kind of take a look of what we got coming up, because they do have risk areas highlighted. So yeah, I believe Monday is high plains, Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, And then Tuesday, we're back down to the standard plains here in Kansas, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Texas. And then I know the models are getting pretty bullish on maybe some storms here in my home turf here in Wisconsin. And we just got a super chat from Leslie. Cheese Fund. Great work, Charlie. Can we get some W's in chat for Leslie? Leslie is one of our wonderful channel members who makes everything you see on this channel possible. So we got to spam up the W's for Leslie. And we also have a new channel member, Rihanna, joining the Cheese Curd Fund. Appreciate you, Rihanna, becoming one of our wonderful channel members. All of our channel members are the reason that I'm able to do these projects, kind of get things rolling here. And Freddie with the 6 months of membership. You guys are going crazy. We got to... Actually, you know what? Freddie, we're going to spam L's for Freddie. Let's spam L's for Freddie, guys. Let's be funny. Let's be funny and different and spam some L's for Freddie. But looks like later next week, that trough kind of works its way on through Wisconsin, so that may set us up for some severe weather here in my home turf. Maybe get some home turf chasing later next week. So we'll keep an eye on things, and then it looks like after that, things might quiet down a little bit. But we'll keep an eye on things. Things might get active again as we get towards mid-June, but it looks like this next week is going to get pretty busy here for the storm chasing. That's mean, Charlie. It's okay. Freddie and Eli locked me in a dungeon. I'm allowed to be slightly mean to them. Freddie's getting spammed the L's. But yeah, that's what's been going on. Freddie's revoking his membership. This is what I get for getting locked in the dungeon, the weather dungeon. And we got Mr. McKinney with the 6 months of membership. We can spam W's for Mr. McKinney. He's the GOAT. He held that awesome shot of the Akron tornado as his back windshield was being destroyed so that you all could see it live. We need some W's in there for John McKinney, the absolute legend who sacrificed his windows for us to see that tornado. But yeah, we're already 20 minutes into the stream and I've gotten sidetracked. I was hoping to be productive and get work done, but obviously we have more important business to attend to with so many legends supporting the chat today. But anyways, back to what I've been working on. When I was filming for this video, one of the things I wanted to do was I need to an old school kind of farmy look. I wanted an actual set in the background. Okay, I'm kind of set in the time period, so to speak. And obviously I don't really have the time to drive all the way up to Peshtigo to film all this stuff. So I was like, what's something that could work? CJ's in here. How's it going, CJ? CJ is rocking down in Florida right now. I saw he almost got struck by lightning yesterday. So he's having a fun time down there. But one of the things I wanted to do was I wanted an actual area that looked from the time period. So not too far from me, there's a park with all these old school farm buildings. So that's where I filmed all my IRL talking shots. I can actually pull those up here on the other timeline. But essentially all my the shots where I'm talking to camera or something like that was all filmed at an actual, there's a state park that was an old farmstead and they kept a lot of the buildings. So I'm okay, this is a perfect scene for me to film from. So let me pull up a good shot here that kind of shows it all. But there's this bit here that's an old Wellhouse. There's a spring that comes up in there that I also used. There was this shot. This shot I had to retake a bunch of times because what I originally wanted to do was behind me there's a spring and I wanted to step out of the way to show oh, there was a drought and all the water dried up. But I kept stepping in puddles and my socks got absolutely soaked, and then I didn't even end up using those takes. I just used another one where I stood farther back, which this one I think turned out the best. So I wetted my socks for nothing, but it's okay. And then there's just a couple other old buildings that I use, that little farmhouse back there. There was this shot I really like. It's an old house used to be sitting here, but it's just the concrete left behind. So I'm like, okay, this could like, we can play on the fire theme a little bit here of like all the wood is burned, but like only the stone is left behind. So that's what I used for some of the shots where I'm talking about the fire aftermath sort of thing. So, were you at Old World, Wisconsin? I was very close to Old World, Wisconsin, but not exactly there. This was like right near the town of Eagle was where I filmed all this stuff. There's another park. I forgot what the park is called, but I was filming around there. That's where I was getting all my shots and whatnot. So that's where I did all my talking head points, where I'm like setting up to talk to camera. Because like I feel like for a project like this, just having me sitting at my computer going like, there was a fire in Peshtigo sort of thing. I was like, that's not very engaging. I wanted to get out and actually like show things a little bit. So that's what I did. I was like, you know what, I escaped the dungeon, the weather dungeon for the day, and I went out and I filmed all that stuff. That's also partially why I wasn't able to join on Freddy's members only cooking stream, was because I was filming all this and like organizing it all, and then I had plans afterwards. So I didn't have time. I was too busy that day. But it's okay. I'll make it to the next members cooking stream. Maybe we gotta have a cook-off, because I don't mean to brag, but I work in a restaurant, so I know my way around the kitchen. So I think Freddie and Eli, I think we gotta have a cook-off someday. We gotta see who can make the best burger or something, because I can make a mean burger. I got it down. But yeah, this was filmed in the Kettle Moraine State Forest. There's like all sorts of fun stuff in there that I spent I hiked down there all the time. So I was like, I kind of had an idea in the back of my mind, like, okay, I know some rough ideas of where I could film this. And then I just kind of went through, did some location scouting, and I was like, okay, here's the spot. Here's where we're going to film everything. And so that's what I did. Filmed it all in there. Stormrunner's in here, and Sydney's in here. Any comments about the wildfire smoke over us today? I have not been outside at all today because it's cloudy and yellow from all the wildfire smoke, so I've just been chilling inside. But we can take a look. I'm sure if we pull up satellite here, we can see it. But Stormrunner, it's good to see you. Glad you could make it out to the stream today. Can we get some W Stormrunners in chat? I know they've had their hands full with the severe weather this past few weeks, and I know we had Dr. Sigma Garrett in the car yesterday with Freddie and Eli. So I think we got to get some W's in there. Did I do a tick check afterwards? I did do a tick check afterwards, because luckily this happened like right during a cold spell, so there weren't a whole lot of bugs, but I was like, they're still in there. There's still going to be something hiding around. But let's take a look at our satellite here. Yeah, I mean, if we just look at satellite, you can see that there's the wildfire smoke. If we go to true color here, if it'll load, you can see like that hazy mass working its way on down. It's smoky out there. Like just looking out my window, the sky is like a gray, brown, yellowy color. So not very conducive for a nice day outdoors. So I'm just kind of figuring, you know what? There's no better day like today when the outside is full of the wildfire smoke to sit down and hang out with you guys and get some work done. And also, I was not super liking the marginal risk in eastern Wisconsin today, because look how cloudy it is. I have a feeling they're struggling to build instability up there, is what I'm thinking. I'm sure there's still some, but yeah, not ideal. Not ideal for a good day of storm chase, and only 500 cape up there. A little bit more farther north, but I'm like, you know what? Also, the models had storms like off over Lake Michigan, so I'm like, I don't want to be chasing by boat. I want to follow a storm. I want to have a nice road that can take me to the storm. Air purifier weather. I do have an air purifier down here. That is one of the things that Freddie and Eli put in the dungeon for me, was an air purifier. It's turned off right now, but it's hiding like around this corner because it makes too much noise. It matches the darkness of my dungeon. Here, I can make it very dark in here. Should I turn off all the lights? Here, guys, this is my dungeon here. This is where I do all my work, here in the darkness. Here, let me turn on my camera's ND filters too, so it really matches. Come on. There we go. yeah, this is where I do all my work. This is how bright it is. Freddie and Eli put me down here because they know I kept escaping, so they took away all my lights. There we go. But yeah, this is my office space. Maybe we should do a desk tour. Would you guys want a desk tour? Because there's some fun things here. Not really. It's just a lot of screens. But anyways, back to Peshtigo. Back to Peshtigo. Another challenge with this video was like finding old imagery, because there's not a whole lot of photos out there of Peshtigo, Wisconsin prior to the fire. There are a few, and I was able to get my hands on them courtesy of the Wisconsin Historical Society and many other like old image archive websites. Like I think Library of Congress had a bunch of them, and all this stuff is so old that it's like well within public domain. I think anything prior to like 1925 is public domain, and this all was like 1871, so we're well within public domain territory. Freddie or Eli, you should bring Charlie with sometimes. I agree. I want to see a big mean tornado from nice and up close, and then we can deploy my cheese hat into it. We're gonna put this into the tornado. This is our new probe. But yeah, finding images was also a challenge, but I managed to get my hands on a bunch of them here. Another interesting tidbit about like this whole story is not only did Peshtigo have their fire, but there were also fires in Michigan had one. I believe Minnesota had one like a couple years later. There was the Chicago fire. So that like whole time period, there were a bunch of wildfires all around the Midwest. So that really started the push for like fire prevention legislation. I know Wisconsin started their fire warden program in I believe it was 1895. So everyone was like, okay, we gotta stop these fires. And fortunately, knock on wood, fingers crossed, we haven't had a fire like Peshtigo since. So hopefully it stays that way, because that would be bad. But here are just like some of the images that I have here. We got, this was the weather pattern the day of the Peshtigo fire. There was a big low pressure sitting over the plains, and then just really strong dry winds working their way into the Midwest. There was, what else was there? We also had, this was another weather map. Somewhere in here it showed the wind gusts. That was one of the things that I was using for research. And then this is just a map of like, if it'll load, because it is a big file, but this is like state parks and whatnot, because I do have a bit about the state parks like towards the end, because that was another factor. Here's the aftermath of I believe this was one of the wildfires up in Minnesota that happened a few years later. This is, where's the Chicago fire? I know I have the Chicago fire in here. This is the Chicago fire. This was a panorama of the aftermath of the Chicago fire. And then here is the aftermath of the Peshtigo wildfire. So one of the stories that I find really interesting is like the beach here. A lot of the people who survived the fire like hid like in the rivers and whatnot. And the fire got so hot that the beach like melted into glass. All the sand had melted. So this was one of the factories. And then there's another shot of it. This was like the sawmill. So that's like the behind the scenes of Peshtigo. And then here's like some miscellaneous fire images of the time. And then here's the fire warden at the Nicolet National Forest right here in Wisconsin. So yeah, that's some of the imagery I used. Here's another photo. These are train rails with nothing but the wheels left behind in the aftermath. Charlie on a chase is a must. You guys heard it here first. We're gonna make it happen. If not, I can like escape the studio again. But yeah, that's what I've been working on. That's been I don't know where my program window went. It's just gone. But oh, it's on the other side. I moved it. But yeah, that's all like the imagery I compiled for this project. And then of course there's all the 3D models, because there's no photos of the fire itself. So I had to make some 3D models for that. But make it happen next week as a surprise. Well, it wouldn't be a surprise if you guys know. We'll find a time to do it, guys. Don't worry. We'll make it happen. We'll find a time to bring me on a chase. I was joking with him yesterday that we should do it when they're in Wyoming where there's no cell service. So every time the signal cuts out, it's just a black screen. I know the audience would really like that, having no one to pop in and go, "Hi guys, there's no cell service. Here's the radar." But we'll find a time to make it happen. Don't worry. But anyways, back to the video. Back to the task at hand. We've been sidetracked for about 30 minutes. But you know what? I'm okay with that. These are productive conversations that are happening. So I also went out and just kind of shot some video on my own, just like miscellaneous shots. This was like, I went back like through like the Kettle Moraine Forest like in the fall or like early spring and whatnot, right after they did a bunch of controlled burns. So I have some photos of like just like some of the controlled burn stuff they were doing, like in the wake of those controlled burns, like all just like the charred remnants left behind. Come to Kansas on Tuesday. Friday, I'm gonna escape the dungeon on Tuesday. I'm gonna go to Kansas and I'm gonna find you guys.
Fall had arrived, and the forest floor was now packed with a dense layer of dried leaves, with dozens of fire.
And then I also do want to create some maps, just like custom maps of like this scene is probably just gonna get its own map.
It was more apparent than ever.
And then I also have some old footage on a hard drive somewhere of like wildfire smoke that I'm gonna put at this ending bit here.
On October 8th, 1871, a strong low-pressure system settled over the Great Plains.
You have photos from the, I believe that's Ellie or Eli. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. But a fire on the Boundary Water is the aftermath. But yeah, I didn't even know they had a fire up there. That's news to me. Ready to see storms next week around your area? Yeah, next week is going to be busy. June looks like it could be a very busy month for storm chasing. I'm looking forward for when we get to the annual parade of squall lines here in Wisconsin, because no one chases those, so I have those all to myself, so I get to have fun with the shelf clouds. That's why Friday is always, anytime there's a shelf cloud, I always get summoned, because shelf clouds are my bread and butter. We get a bunch of them up here.
On October 8th, 1871, a strong low-pressure system settled over the Great Plains.
I believe for this shot, we're going to have to do some custom mapping. Also, another interesting thing. One thing I talk about here is how cities have gotten larger, leading to wildfire, like larger wildfire targets. And to use that, I used these old images of, this was Las Vegas in 1988, and here is Las Vegas today. Significantly larger. So that's just like one of the interesting things I found while I was researching for this video. I am streaming, just not chasing. That's true. Not chasing today. Didn't really look worth going for. I didn't want to drive like 4 hours to just get a rain shower. That was off over Lake Michigan. So I was like, you know what? We're going to pass on today. We'll get the next one. We're going to save the chase fund for another day. But there will be other days coming up. Don't worry. Do I like water spouts? I do like water spouts. I'm a big water spout fan. I haven't seen one, but I've been trying to. When I was at school in Milwaukee this year, there was one day where I was like walking to class and I saw like over the lake there were a bunch of low-hanging clouds. I was like, oh, wouldn't it be funny if those produced a water spout? And then later that evening, as I'm heading back from class, I see on the news that there was a water spout reported over Lake Michigan, like right off the shoreline. So I'm like, okay, I should have just skipped class and gone water spout chasing. But that is on the bucket list. I do want to see a water spout at some point, especially over Lake Michigan, just because they're not super common around there. That would be fun. That would be a fun day. But back to the video. I keep saying that and then I get sidetracked. But you know what? That's fine. That's fine. Fine by me. I don't mind answering your guys' questions. It makes it more fun. That's why I did this stream today. I was like, you know what? We gotta have some fun while we're editing this video. And I know you guys bring the excitement. So that's why we're here. And also I felt bad because I canceled the chase stream today. But where are all my maps? They are in here. Let's get some maps going. Yeah, I'll probably only be live for like 20 more minutes or so, just because I do wanna lock in on this so I can have it ready to go here fairly soon. But until then, we can y'all are free to chat. Y'all are free to hang out with me in my in the studio down here.
Dozens of fires now dotting northern Wisconsin. The sky was filled with a thick layer of smoke. It was more...
Peshtigo Fire made it all the way down to Champion, Wisconsin. Yeah, the Peshtigo Fire jumped Green Bay. I did this map here of just kind of... This was something I posted for the some of the channel members a while ago, but this was a map of the Peshtigo Fire that I put together. And one of the interesting things about it was how the embers jumped over Green Bay here and started another fire in the Door County area. So that was an interesting tidbit of information of just how large this fire was. It was able to jump over Green Bay. And then it was on approach to Sturgeon Bay, but fortunately it lost steam as it was working its way on over there.
With dozens of fires now dotting northern Wisconsin. 1871, a strong low-pressure system settled over the Great Plains. Dry, south...
I need to find some of my pre-made graphics that I just kind of recycle for all my videos. Little pro tip for any of you guys getting into like video production is have just like a library of commonly used graphics that you can recycle. Because I make weather content, so I have a bunch of pre-made graphics of like different fronts and boundaries, high and low pressure. And those are some of the things that I use fairly often. So I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to have a pre-made library of a bunch of stuff, and I can just pull from that whenever I need. Like this. Bam. Easy. I believe that low is sitting like right over here. So I'm just going to plop it down there. Right now, I'm not like going through and like adding any effects right now. I'm in what I like to call the layout stage, where I'm just putting everything into the timeline and just kind of roughly having it where I want it. So that's the point of the project that I'm at right now. We're at the layout stage, not really doing any fancy stuff, just putting everything where it's roughly gonna go, and then I'll go through and add music and adjust things from there.
Dry, southwesterly winds of 30 miles per hour gusted into the Great Lakes. The fires dotting the...
Then over here I'll have like a more zoomed in image of just the Great Lakes region. Put it right there. Right there. Well, Wisconsin kind of in the center. Something like that. There we go. Come on. There. Then this will go in our maps. Our mapping folder for all the awesome maps that we're using. Let me see. Where did I put all my maps? There they are. I found them. What do I think about the 2013 El Reno tornado? I think that tornado was very big. That is my thoughts. Very big, very mean, very scary tornado. That is a tornado that I see that, I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't chase that. I would not want to be there, because that chase was... I like See, when I'm storm chasing, I'm thinking like I want to enjoy myself. I want to be out there to have a good time. That's not a good time. That's running for your life the entire chase. I'm not a fan of that. So that's one of those chases where I'm like, yeah, if I had the opportunity to be there, I'd probably sit that one out.
The fires dotting the
And then in here, we'll just put the blank map in here. Something little interesting fact of this map is because what I want to do is I want to be able to like zoom in and get really close up detailed shots of like the fire expanding towards different towns. So this map here is I broke it. This map right here is a 8K map file. Like usually all my other maps I just kind of do 4K because then I can scale around just like loosely. But for this, I want to be able to zoom in and get like really close up, detailed shots. So big file for a big map. And then we'll scale it up to like here. There we go. Solid. Perfect. 107 is our scaling. We're going to have to take note of that when we overlay some of this stuff on it. Because like the whole idea here is I just saved everything as separate pieces. So I can just plop this right on. So I can go 107, bam, and it fits right on over our Google Maps map here. Would I chase the 1999 Bridge Creek Moor tornado? That's another one where I'm like, it is an interesting case, but I'm like, it depends. It's very dependent. Because I feel like that one, like chase-wise, that one would be a more interesting chase than El Reno, where I like would have the opportunity to more get those like steady shots where I'm not running away the entire time. But that's another one. I'm like, the human impact that kind of takes away some of the fun for me. Best tornado I ever chased, that would be a obscure EF0 that happened near Janesville in 2023. This was a 0% day by the Storm Prediction Center. There was no tornado risk. And I was looking at the models and I was like, yeah, there might be something going on out there. So I made the trek down towards Then we had like a couple little storms get going. I was like, you know what? I'm only an hour away. I'm gonna go over and check those out. So I made the trek on down towards the Janesville area, and I got a nice little noodle. Here was that tornado. It was kind of a funky little rope. A funky little rope noodle thingy that we had going on down there. So that's my best tornado. I do want to top that. My dream tornado is one of those like nice tubes all the way to the ground with a big dusty debris column. I'm a fan of those big dusty tornadoes. That's what I like. A lot of people like the wedges. I'm a fan of the dust busters. What about running into a dust devil? I've done that several times, don't worry. I've ran into my fair share of dust devils. When they were doing construction on the road in front of my house a couple years ago, there were just dust devils everywhere. So me and my friends, we'd have our electric scooters and we just drive them into the dust devils. So that was how we entertained ourselves that summer. We became professional dust devil chasers. This was in like 2nd grade. But yeah. First tornado was a weak rope moving at like 3 miles per hour. Yeah, that Janesville tornado that I saw was slow moving. I want to say it was moving like 10 miles per hour. It was only on the ground for like a minute. So I got a nice time lapse of the thing too, which was really fun. My very first tornado, this was I know Freddie has a video on this day. I also have a Freddie on this day, but was on April 4th, I believe, of 2023, the Lewistown day. That was my very first tornado. My very first 3 tornadoes. So here was my view of that storm. There was a rain-wrapped tornado that kind of poked its way out over here. This was my very first tornado. Tornado number 1 out of an absolute behemoth of a supercell. And then that turned into this big thing. We had this kind of big, broad, multi-vortex thing going on here over the town of Table Grove that got rated as an EF1. And then that turned into this. This was the starting point of the Lewistown EF3, the strongest tornado that I have seen the EF3 here near Lewistown. So those were my very first 3 tornadoes. I've been chasing for plenty of years prior to that. I've started off chasing back in like, I don't know, like 4th grade on my bike. So if you count those years chasing on the bicycle, I've been chasing for like 12 years. But yeah, I've seen some fun stuff. It took me a while to get my first tornado, but that adrenaline hit when I saw that thing, I was like, oh yeah, this was a good day of chasing. It's always a good day when you see your very first tornado. Am I an expert on dungeons? I am not. I'm not an expert on dungeons. I want to find some of my very old storm chasing photos. This is one of my favorite photos that I've taken. This was back in like 2018 in Delaware, of all places. We were on a family trip out there, and I went out to take some photos of the lightning on the beach and got this nice shot. This is hanging up in my bedroom right now. And then we have, see what other photos we have here. I've had plenty of close lightning encounters too. I wonder if I can find one of those. This was a very old photo taken on my iPod back in like the 4th grade as we were driving home from, I don't even know what we were driving home from. There was a lot of lightning, so I put my little iPod up to the windshield and got that lightning photo. And then this is a fun one. This was my first solar eclipse experience back in 2017. This was the year before that like blue lightning photo in Delaware. So this was my first eclipse experience, and after that I was like, okay, I gotta see the total solar eclipse now. I have to see totality. We all know how that story went. There's a video about it on my YouTube channel. So if you're curious about my total solar eclipse story, it's on here. You guys can dig around. I have 2 videos on it. I have a VR video and then like a standard documentary style video. Do I know why it's so dark in southeast Wisconsin right now? I do know why. We have a combination of wildfire smoke and very thick clouds. Those 2 combinations are making it very yellow and very icky outside, which is why I am down here. Feels like there's a solar eclipse right now. It really does. Much more yellow. But let me see if I have any other like old storm photos on here. Nope. All my other old storm photos are like buried on old hard drives that are laying around somewhere. But let me see if I can find my total solar eclipse photos. Because I did just mention that, so I feel like I should show you guys now. Because I got my favorite photos of all time were taken on that day. I rented one of the. This was the camera lens that I rented for that day. I rented one of the big like 600mm camera lenses. Thing had like the same weight as a baby, so it was a hefty camera lens I used to photograph the total solar eclipse. But yeah, here it was, my big chonker of a camera lens. And then here were the actual photos I got of the eclipse. This was like a telephoto shot right there, zoomed all the way in. Here's a couple more wide angle images. We did one of the paper plate pinhole experiments, so we got that going. What else do we have here? This was a wide angle HDR shot, so you have the high dynamic range with the grass nice and lit up, and then the sunset effect going on with the blues in the sky. This photo I absolutely love. This is one of my favorite photos. That HDR effect is so fun. And then, of course, you gotta have your diamond ring shot. So I got the diamond ring. We got that. And then what else do I have? This is another telephoto shot, a little more zoomed out, but you can see like all the flares and stuff on the outer edges of the sun. And then what else is there? There's one more that I'm trying to find. This guy right here. The thing that makes this photo so special to me, this was not captured on a digital camera. This was taken on good old-fashioned film, on a big medium format film camera. We got that nice pinhole effect with the sun and the moon up there, and that wide perspective. The camera was sitting like right on the ground. This was taken during like the last second of totality. So that is, so I have that like actual piece of film like up in my bedroom right now. So it's like my trophy from the eclipse is I have all these digital photos, and I also have that film shot, that like physical photo taken on film of the eclipse. Let me see if I can show you guys the camera I used for that shot. Yeah. For the film photo, I use this big camera right here, that big chonker. The Mamia RB67. It's currently sitting upstairs in my my bedroom right now, but that is like my favorite camera that I have. I absolutely love. It's like the Ferrari of cameras. Like it's a nice, like it's one of those things that you go out with every once in a while and you're like, you know what, today's a special day. I'm going to treat myself. We're going to drive the Ferrari. That's how I feel when I use the Mamia. I'm like, you know what, today's a special day. I want to feel very in tune with my photos. I want like all the manual dials and stuff because there's no electronics on this camera. It's fully mechanical. So no batteries, no nothing. That's what I use there for my film photos. And they're super high resolution. You can blow up those photos to like the size of a billboard because the film I use on that thing is ginormous. Like I have a bunch of the film in my freezer in the other room that I'm not using right now. And the like some of the film that I use is like cut from like IMAX film. So you're getting plenty of detail with those film shots. I also use that film camera to take photos of the Northern Lights back on, when was this? This was May 10th of last year. I used that film camera to get some Northern Lights photos. So, yeah, I use that camera like very specially. It's very special use when I take out that camera. And the solar eclipse and the big Northern Lights show of last year, those were special cases where I was like, you know what? You gotta break out the Ferrari. You gotta bring out the Mamia. Gotta get those nice manual photos. Really be in tune with how you're taking your shots. So that was the some of my favorite photos. We got way off track, but those are some of the photos that I've done. Have some amazing photos on your darkroom site. Thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah, if you guys like the photos you saw, I do have a gallery link below my darkroom page. There are also like prints and stuff available on there. Those are so if you want a piece of my my storm chasing history, they are available down there. Got Sydney's in here. Good to see you, Sydney. I did see you up in chat earlier. I don't know if you heard me say hello, but hi, Sydney. Good to see you. Glad you're in here today. Thought your Nikon D2500 was big. That is a behemoth. I can, if you guys want, I can run upstairs and grab the Mamia right now. I can switch you guys over to the intermission window very briefly. So this is probably going to be the end of the stream here in just a few minutes, but just for fun, I'm going to go upstairs and get the Mamia because it is an absolute chonker of a camera. And I always like, it's always fun to show it off. So I'll be right back. Alright guys, I'm back. And we have the Mamia. This is my baby of a camera. I absolutely love this thing. I mean, look at that. Big old lens on there. We got a nice chonky viewfinder. All the film gets loaded into this like back bit here. So this gray area, this is a dark slide in there right now, but this gray area is the size of the film. And that's like the size of the palm of my hand. So you get some pretty big photos from this thing. but it's really awesome. I love this thing. Let me put it back together. But yeah, this is the Mamia, my favorite camera of all time. I absolutely love using this thing. So if you're ever looking for like a good first film camera, and you're lucky enough where you can like splurge a little bit, this thing will treat you very well. I absolutely love it. So that's my film camera, my absolute chonker of a film camera. But with that, I believe we are going to head and love seeing Kenneth with the 20 bomb. Absolutely insane, Kenneth. We need to spam some W's for Kenneth in there. But let me read some of the chats that I missed while I was going up to grab the camera. Do I have an interest getting a meteorology degree? I am currently getting my meteorology degree. I'm going into my junior year. So if all goes according to plan, in 2 more years, I will be graduated and I will officially be meteorologist Charlie Bourdo. So yeah, I am getting my meteorology degree right now. Photography is just something I like to do for fun on the side. So I was out shooting photos yesterday. Do I prefer film over digital photography? If I had the choice, they have their pros and strengths. That's how I like to put it. There are times where I'm like, you know what? We're going to go out and shoot digital today. That's like 99% of the time. But for special occasions, the reason I like film is because it has those little imperfections. So it has those little minute imperfections that it's almost like capturing a memory. Like your memory isn't perfect. So that's why I love using film, is because of those special occasions where I'm like, I want to remember this almost like how my mind is remembering it. So that's when I shoot film. So like for the solar eclipse or for the auroras or for like fun outings with friends, that's when I bring this chonker along. And I mean, this camera is not light. This thing weighs like 9 pounds. So this was made to be used in a studio, and I have absolutely broken that rule, and I have never used this in a studio. Every single photo I have from this camera was taken outside in like the rain, in the mud, in a field somewhere. So it gets the job done if you know how to use it. But Chris is in here, and Stormrunner just became a channel member. We got some absolutely awesome folks supporting the channel here today. I really appreciate all you guys. We need some W's for Chris. Appreciate you, Charlie. I appreciate you, Chris. Thank you for the super chat. And some W's for Stormrunner for becoming a channel member. But with that, we've reached our time. I do want to get back to like working on this video. So I believe it's going to be time to wrap things up. Your first SLR digital was a Canon Rebel. My first DSLR, like digital DSLR camera, was a Nikon D3300. And then from there, I upgraded to the D7500, and now I'm using Sony's. So that's my camera progression. And then mixed in there somewhere, I was like, you know what? I want to try out film. I want something fun that I can take out every once in a while. So I got this. So that's my camera progression. My photography story. But with that, I want to thank you guys all for tuning in today. I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping up the stream here. I also just realized that I've been streaming to Severe Studios this whole time. Oops, that's my bad. Sorry, Corey. But yeah, with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the stream here. I really appreciate all you guys for tuning in today. It's been a whole lot of fun getting to chat with you briefly. I really appreciate all the super chats, all the channel memberships. Super, super awesome that we have such an amazing community in here that is able to tune in and enjoy some of the fun times that we have here. So I'm really excited to see some of the stuff that we have prepared for the future here on this channel. This video that I'm working on here is going to be ready to go pretty soon. With the stream wrapping up, I'm just going to get back to work on grinding this out, so this should be ready soon. But yeah, I really appreciate all you guys once again for tuning in today. I really appreciate all the support on Freddy's channel too. It's been a whole lot of fun being able to be over there, share my love of meteorology for all you guys, and hopefully teach you a little something on the way and have some fun doing it. So with that, I really appreciate all you guys once again, and we will see you around soon. Like I said, storm season's just getting started, so this is only the beginning. We're gonna have more storms on the way, and when it comes time to chase, we'll be on them. So thank you all once again, and I'll see you around.